Okay, so now we are in the security section of this project. So in this video, I'm going to tell you how to store the sensitive information securely. Okay, so when I said sensitive information, so in this project we have a lot of sensitive information, right? For example, if you go to the settings, you can see this secret key is a sensitive information, right? So this secret key has to be secure, right? And this debug also we should make it very secure. Okay, so and if you come down and here also you can see the database name, we have to make it secure, right? Also we have email email configurations, so this email configuration also need to be secure, right? So for that we use a .env file to store these sensitive information, so that when we give the code of this project to someone else, he cannot see that. And even we push the code to the GitHub, right? So that is public, right? So these sensitive information should not go to the GitHub as well, right? So to implement this, we have a package called a python-decouple. So if you go to here in the Google, let's say python-decouple, you see this, there is a package, so you have to install this package. Okay, pip install python-decouple. So now you can see strict separation of settings from code. Okay, all these things you can read if you want. So to implement this, you first need to install this. Okay, so what we need to do, we will just start making it. Okay, so first I'll stop the server and I will just install it. Okay, so now this is installed. So now the next thing is we need to import the config. Okay, so which config? Let me show you this. Let me run the server again. And here you can see from decouple import setting. Okay, I'll copy this and I will just paste it here. Okay, so now this now we have imported the config. So now the next thing is we need to actually create a new file and name it .env. Okay, on the root folder create .env and press enter. Okay, so now this env file is created. Next you just need to just copy this and paste it here as it is. Okay, so when it is here, we don't need the spaces and quotations. Okay, we'll get rid of this. So now we have this secret key is equal to this value. Okay, so these values actually store in a key and value fashion. Okay, so this is the key and this is the value. Okay, so if you want to print the value, you just need to put the key here and it will fetch the value of it. Okay, so that's how it works. So now let's say we want to put the secret key here, right? Here we want to put, we don't want to put the value itself here. Okay, so that's the reason we are using a python-decouple, right? Let's say config and open the bracket. Inside the quotation we need to say the key. Okay, secret key, and you paste it here. So now this will bring the value of this secret key. Okay, the same way we can do it for this one, this debug also. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll say config. Alright, first of all I'll just copy this and paste it here and remove this, and now remove this true, and now config and debug. But one thing to notice here is this config will bring the value as a string. Okay, so this will be like it will be true. Okay, so it is a string now, but the problem is debug accepts boolean value, okay, not string. So that's why we have another feature in python-decouple. Then if you go here and now you can see debug equal to config debug and comma, you can set the default value here. Also you can say cast equals bool. Okay, so now this will be boolean if you pass this argument cast equals bool. So now what will happen, let's say config debug comma cast equals bool, then this will be printed as like this. Okay, true or false or whatever. So this is not a string anymore. So this is a boolean. Okay, so that's what it is accepting, right? Also you can set the default value here if you want. Default true. Okay, so default value means if there is nothing inside the debug key, then the default value will be taken here. Okay, and next we have a database, and you can see the database here. So this is the engine and name. If you want to store the engine somewhere inside the env file, then you can do that. So this is very helpful when you are using Postgres database or something like that. But for this you don't need to do this, because the db.sqlite3 is very default name. Okay, but if you want to change this, then you can of course use the db here. All right, so next you can also store these things inside the env, and what I want to do is you can see the email configuration, right? In this smtp configuration I want to store inside the env, because you can see this is the password of my Google Gmail test account. But of course I'm going to change this the password. Now what I'll do, I will just copy this and paste it here. Okay, so now this is email host smtp.gmail.com, and this is the email address, this is the password. Okay, password, and this is the boolean value, right? So what I'll do, I will just copy this email host and remove this one, and I will say config, and inside the quotation I will just say email host. Okay, so now this will print the smtp.gmail.com, and the same way I will copy this email port. So now this is the port. So this is actually the int, right? So this is not a string. So by default it is config will be printed as a string, right? So now what we need to do, we need to pass the cast argument, cast equal to int. Okay, so now this will be int. Now if you want to see that, you can see cast equal to int, right? And for the email host there is another argument. You see default equal to localhost, right? You can also set the default. All right, so next this email id, right? Config email underscore host underscore user, right? And this password also I will remove, and I'll say config inside the quotation email underscore host password, right? And this email use TLS, and I'll say config config email use TLS comma cast equals bool, because that's a true or false value, right? So that's why. Now you can see we have this data here. Okay, and one more thing, we need to include this .env file inside the gitignore file, because when we are pushing the code to the GitHub, this env file should not go, right? So what I'll do, I will first check if this .env file is already included. Now you can see this .env is already included in the gitignore file, and by default it will not, this env file will not go to the GitHub. Okay, and now what else we can do for the other users, like who want to use this code? So what we can do, we can create a new file. Okay, .env sample. Okay, .env sample, just to show the structure of what env data he has to put after he download our code. So in this, what we can do, we can just remove the value. Okay, we'll just remove the value. Okay, we have just removed the value. So when someone downloads our code from the GitHub repository or somewhere else, so he will now know that he has to put all these things before he run the code, right? So that's why this is just a just a sample file of our real env file. Okay, so this code we can this env sample code sample file we can push to the GitHub. Okay, so this is useful for other people. Okay, so this one we never want to push to the GitHub. This will contain the secret information, right? So that's how it works. And okay, so now if you refresh, so make sure your website is working properly. All right, so debug. Okay, somewhere I misspelled it. So I'll say in the debug, I think. All right, so you can see config. Now I refresh and no changes, right? So everything should be working now. All right, so okay, so that's all for this video. I'll see you in the next one.